Alrighty, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Brian, for hosting the King School Cruise. Quick introduction, my name is Tim. I am with Rudder Marketing. This is going to be a little longer than I guess the other ones. I think we kind of sped right away, and I know that I'm probably the only thing that's holding you between breaks, so I'll also go pretty fast, but yeah, let's have some fun. So let's start with this picture here. Does anyone know what this thing is right here?
Yeah, this is a 1905 Wright Flyer.
It's exactly right.
It's in Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton, Ohio, I don't know about that one. I bring this up because I'm going to tell a quick story here. So me and the wife, we actually visited here late last year, and it's me and my lovely wife over here, and we're visiting the Wright Brothers Memorial. And it kind of segues into my first question, right? And today's topic is about marketing and growing your business. And for that, I think the first question I want to ask you guys is, what is your why? Because when you look at this, the Wright brothers and what they did in December 1903, and they took the first powered flight, their motivations for flying were much different than the motivations you guys might have for flying or running your business, right? So, I want to do this quick thought experiment. We have about 30, 40 minutes with you guys, so let's have some fun. What is your why? Like, why do you guys get up every day? Why are you here on this cruise? What's your intention and motivation between flying, piloting, running a flight school business? And I think understanding your why is really important. So I'm going to share some more stories here. So I have two stories right here, and on the left side is one of our flight school partners that we work with, and this is Luke Polos and his son. And when I first met them, maybe I don't know, about 2-3 years ago, they were they had just opened their flight school, and they were kind of struggling, to be honest with you. They were actually considering closing up shop, and they weren't really getting enough business in their flight school. So they're in a very competitive area. They're in Florida, Miami, and it's just it's really hard to run a business there if you don't have the right things in place. However, they did finally reach out to me and my team in Rudder Marketing, and I think when I first met them, they were about 3-4 planes, and they were struggling to make about $500,000. So they're barely breaking even, and they're actually considering closing up shop. Well, fast forward to about 2 years later, Luke actually followed his passions and was able to achieve his dreams of actually purchasing a seaplane. And that's one of his longtime goals. I know Brandon over there was talking about his Icon A5, which is pretty sick, and I think it's such a cool opportunity. And that was his kind of personal motivation to wake up every morning and to do his business, right? On the right side is one of our newer flight schools. It's actually over here in Salt Lake City. And this is a kind of crazy story as well. So the guy on the left, his name is Micah Pittman, and his brother's Michael Pittman. And together they run the business called Blitz Aviation over in Salt Lake City. Micah played college football, and what happened was, as he's playing college football, he actually, I think, had some medical issues, like surgery from being tackled and all that stuff. And then, but on the side of doing all that stuff from college football, he actually decided to pursue his pilot license and get his private instrument commercial, and he finished the Zero to Hero program in about a year. And seeing how he was able to do all that, he wanted to give the same gift to people around him, his friends and family, and also the immediate network that he has, and he wanted to provide flight training. So him and his brother opened a school, and something that they never thought of doing before. So yeah, that's Micah, and his brother's Michael Pittman, and Michael Pittman's actually a professional NFL player for the Indianapolis Colts. And by opening this flight school, they've been able to expand their love for aviation. They just bought a Cirrus the other day, and they're also looking at the Vision Jet now. So having this flight school business and having us market them has allowed them to unlock this door of opportunity. So I bring this up because I'm going to share with you my motivations for flying and for doing this stuff. So this was just actually about last week. And this is my team over here in the right. We're always expanding. We have some more people, we have some less people. And a lot of our people actually are from overseas. And I don't try to hide it, but we do hire some developers, SEO specialists, and designers. And a lot of them, they work with Rudder Marketing, but they don't really know what aviation is. They don't really know what they're talking about. So what we like to do is once a year, we like to meet up somewhere in the world, and I like to give them discovery flights. So on the right side over there is one of our newest employees. His name is Gil Herman, and that's his first discovery flight, and just seeing his eyes. So I don't know if whenever you walk into your flight school and you maybe have some discovery flights lined up, and then you see that guy or girl walk in the front door, and then they're about to go on their first flight, their first introductory flight, right? And their eyes just have that that glitter. They have that. And I saw the exact same thing on that day with Go Harry, and it just meant so much to me because it means that I'm helping impact his life. I'm helping him show that aviation is possible. And I'm sure that many of you guys have the same motivations, right? Your same why for starting a flight school. So this can really be summed up in 3 different things. So the real reason to start any business is 3 reasons. It's freedom, it's money, and it's impact, right? We don't get into business to lose money. We don't get into business to have no time and freedom, and we don't get into business to not impact anybody. So really, when it comes down to it, I think, and what I want to show with you today is that these are your 3 reasons of really why we started a business. Maybe you can disagree with me or not, but I think in general, if you're running a flight school business, you want the freedom, you want the money, and you want the impact to last for the next generation of aviators. Now, the better question, is not the motivation of the things, but actually, is really the how. How do we do this? How do we actually have the freedom? How do we actually get the money, the income, the revenue that we need? And lastly, how do we have a lasting impact in the next generation of aviators? So that's what we're getting into today, because there's a lot of different ways to do it. But if I was to simplify this in one kind of sentence, it's this. It's to operate an impactful business that affects thousands of lives. If you're not going to be able to run a business, if your business is not really affecting lots of people and it's not successful, then you're not going to be able to have the freedom, you're not going to be able to have the money, and you're not going to have the impact. And we got to do a little switch over here. I kind of want to preface this here today because you guys are all in this room right now. If you're all in this room right now, it means you took the time out of your day to spend the time with John, Martha, and Brian, and all of us today. And what happened is you're actually getting invited to a lot of insider knowledge. A lot of people here have a lot of connections, a lot of interesting things in their mind that you guys can feed off of, and you get to network with them. It's a high value network that you're exposed to, whether that's me and Rudder Marketing, or John, Martha King, and other people around you. You have this high value network. You're going to get the networking and consulting and mentorship just by being around people here, and by doing that, you get to skip the line. So when you're running a business, you're always going to get beat up left and right by different challenges, right? It's not easy. I think if anyone says starting a business is easy, but by being in this room here, you get to skip the line and actually get to avoid some of those mistakes that might put you out of business. So let's go back to the how. Got the switcheroo again, number 2. I think if I sit right here, I'm going to do the dance and kind of go around the stage, see what part works or not. There you go. When it really comes to running a successful business, there's only 5 key things you got to figure out. And really, this is it. I mean, if you have one piece missing, or one piece is deficient, you're going to have trouble running and operating a successful business. So let's go through each 5 stages of the business, or 5 kind of factors of the business. And the first one on the very top is your visionary. So this is usually the CEO or the owner of the business, and it's kind of fitting that this cruise is titled Envision Flight, because we need to envision where we're taking our business, where we're taking the aviation industry, and where we're going to put it in the future. And that's the job of the CEO or the owner of the business, or the founder. Right below it is the integrator role. So this integrator role might be your director of operations or your COO. And really, their job is to take your vision and execute it. So sometimes when you're starting out and you're smaller, the visionary and the integrator is the same person. Or even if you're smaller than that, all of these things are you. So if you're an independent CFI trying to run your business, you might be all 5 of these, right? On the right side is the boring one. That's the admin, finance, and HR. But we have to make sure we get that right, make sure our books are correct, make sure we're in the green, we're in the black, so to speak, as far as accounting and bookkeeping. You want to make sure you hire the right people. So HR is very important to running a successful operation. So admin is very important too. On the middle is where a lot of people get stuck on, and that's the operations and service part. That's That's buying a new plane. It's getting your CFIs. That's building the curriculum that you guys need. It's training your students. This is kind of where the money gets given. This is where flight training occurs. The last part, which we're going to get in today, is sales and marketing. So the last part of sales and marketing, a lot of people gloss over this part, and it's kind of what we specialize in and what I really enjoy doing. So I'm going to have fun talking to you guys about sales and marketing today. But it is an important part, and you can't really have a good business if one of these are lacking. So, I think everything's important. All factors are important. It's you don't want to disregard any one. So you can't disregard HR. You can't disregard, flight training and safety, for example. You can't disregard a whole operations management type system. You can't disregard visionary. And lastly, you really can't disregard sales and marketing. Sales and marketing is what generates the cash flow of your business. And without cash flow in your business, that's it's a dead business. So we have some C rules and agenda here. First off, let's be engaged. I know it's early in the morning. Let's get the blood going and get some energy going. Because I know I'm the last thing that separates you from break, but hopefully you guys can stay engaged and ask questions. Right. The third one in here is called empty your cup. Who knows what that means? Anyone know what that means? No one knows what that means. Okay. So so if you guys come into these rooms, it's not just my talk or it's not just the future talks, whatever that we have. But if you come into these rooms and these sessions and you don't have an open mind, if your cup or your head is full, then you can't receive new information, right? So, I'm inviting you guys to empty your cup, and we have a lot of cool sessions planned today, and not just mine. There's a lot of sessions, today and the next couple of days as well. You have to open your cup or empty your cup. That way you can open your mind and receive new information, and from that you can commit to taking action. Because if you don't commit to taking action on this cruise, whether you learn a golden nugget of information, if you don't commit to it, then it's kind of a waste of coming here, right? So let's make the best value of coming to this cruise by committing to take action and then having fun. And then, of course, kind of my talk and what my session is going to be about is learning the best marketing strategies, how we've helped and impacted the flight schools we work with across the country. And then I'm not sure if we have time. I know we have a break coming up, but maybe we can go on the computer, share the screen, and I can invite someone, a lucky guest here, to come up and we can do a free marketing audit and see what we do at Rudder Marketing, see how we would kind of change things around and fix things up. So it really depends on time and if you guys want to do it. So it's available, in the very end. So quick intro. This is me. I'm Tim. On the bottom left is actually the first Envision trade show conference that I was in, and here we are 3 years later. I'm so happy to be here. Top left, that's me getting my pilot certificate back about 5 years ago. On the right, you have some of our flight school partners that we've helped and impacted their lives with, and on the bottom is me. I have my book. So we published a book about a year ago. So let's get into meat and potatoes thing. Who's here is ready to get into the meat and potatoes of this whole talk? I promise it won't be too boring. So, all right, this is called the Flight School Marketing System, and really it sums up what we do at Rudder Marketing. There's no magic bullet. I have a lot of prospects and flight schools come up to me and they're like, hey, give me a solution that costs X amount of money and let's just implement it. And they're looking for one magic little knob they can tweak. But unfortunately, that's not the answer. What it really is the answer is a comprehensive solution that has different channels. I like to call them different control surfaces in your marketing program. So for us, it's really 5 different things. This first one's your website. We're gonna get into your website a little bit. Second one is your ranking high on organic search. A lot of it's going into AI now. So we're gonna talk a little about AI for a bit. On the bottom right, you have pay-per-click advertising, and then on the very bottom, you have reputation management. And on the very left side, bottom left, you have your sales process. So this is the flight school marketing system, kind of similar to how we talked about a business operating, right? You have your visionary, your integrator, marketing, sales, operations, admin, HR. All 5 parts are important. And the marketing piece of it, these are the 5 parts to run a successful marketing program. And we're going to dive into each one in this session. So. All right, first one's your website. So really quick here, the website is, let me ask you a question. When you build a website, what is the main intention of the website? What's the point of making a website? Who knows?
Convert traffic.
Someone said traffic.
Get them to call you.
Get them to call you. There you go. Any other reasons? Show off my new fleet. Just bought a new Cirrus.
Establish credibility.
Credibility, yeah. It's really on conversions and generating leads. It's your sales tool. It's the person that's the person that works 24/7. When people look you up, they're going to be able to give your prospects and your future students information they need. So really, what we need to do is we need to have this, philosophy in our back of our head for our website, and make sure that we focus on getting the lead. We get the traffic. We get the phone call. We build the authority. That way we're able to get the lead that comes in. So there are 5 different, I think my lucky number here is 5. I've mentioned 5 3 times now. There's 5 different things I want to mention here, and it's, there's nothing secret that I'm going to share with you. But the first one is having right call to actions. Call to actions means that you have to ask somehow on your website to get the lead, to get them to give you their contact information. If you never ask, you never get. So that's something that my father taught me a while ago is if you don't ask something, you never get anything. So make sure on your website you have many times around it, you're featuring text or buttons that point them towards, leaving a mechanism for them to leave contact information to you. Second one is copywriting. So copywriting refers to the tone we use in our language, the typography. It also refers to what we say. It refers to how well that our text kind of translate into psychology and can affect how people read it and how they react to it. The next one is being formatted very well. So as far as formatting goes, it looks, you're looking at, the spacing, maybe white spacing of your text and your images. You're looking at how high quality your images are. Speaking about images and video, we love video on our websites and on our social media stuff. So if you're not invested in video, I highly recommend just pulling out your phone and start recording around your school. Ask around with the students, your CFIs, just to produce content for you. And really the name of the game here is consistency. So we're going through all these different tactics. It's not just a one-hit wonder, just blast it off in there. It's actually consistently month after month, do these 5 things, and then the results kind of bear fruit in the near 3 to 6 months, 3, 6, 9, 10, 12 months later. So it's not, you got to continuously keep going. Messaging. So I want to bring up the messaging part in here. I call this the 3 M's of marketing. So market, message, and medium. So let's talk about this for a few minutes here. Market refers to your target customer. So if we are a business and we want to sell our product, we can't serve everybody. If you serve everybody, then we serve no one, because then you don't really have the authority to say and sell what you want. So really, you want to look at your target market, and what that means is your demographics. So for example, are we looking to train students that are fresh out of high school? Are we looking for people that are doing a career change? Are we looking for people in a certain neighborhood maybe, and maybe income status? Are we looking at different demographics, things like that? And we have to define this market, because then we are able to tailor our message. So I'll give you an example. So one time, this is about 2-3 years ago, we've since changed the messaging around and the market around. There's a school we have in Arizona, and they only did accelerated programs. So 0 to hero, flight training, private. They would not enroll any students that only did instrument or only did commercial. You had to go through the full program. So it was the best bang for buck at a time. And what we did is we changed our messaging to say, hey, this is an accelerated pilot course. Become an airline pilot in 1 year or less, right? A little marketing, but yeah, here we did. So that's the message that you want to really tailor, and you got to figure out what your market is and really change your messaging around. The third part in here is your medium. There's different areas that you can market to. There's different places you can put your message out there. So for example, in social media, you have different platforms, right? So if my target is to say older individuals doing a career change, I'm probably not going to put a lot of stuff on TikTok. Probably not going to put a lot of stuff on Instagram. On the other hand, if my target is a much younger demographic, then Instagram, TikTok, those are definitely good mediums to use. So that's kind of a summary of the 3 M's there, but it's really important to understand the 3 M's because that's how we get our message to the right people. It's about targeting your message to the right people, because you're giving this opportunity to your students, and you have to be able to give the opportunity to the right people. You don't want to give this flight training to people that don't really care about flight trainings, right? So Last one over here is lead magnets, and this is what generates the contact information, the lead that comes in. So we're going to go through a couple of them. This is another 5, rule of 5s here. So we have 5 different ways that right-order marketing does their lead magnets. And I think the first 2 right here, discovery flight and forms, I think a lot of people get that covered. Many times when you're running your website, social media and all stuff, your offer is really a discovery flight, intro flight. It's also maybe a contact us form, enroll now form. But really there's other ways to do it. There's other things you can do. So free downloads is another one. It's called content marketing. It's giving a piece of value, whether that's pilot training guide or different assets and material to the audience, and then basically for exchange for an email, you get the email, and then they get the content, right? Other ones in there, chat widgets. I've seen that happen a lot too. Quizzes is a fun one too. So are you ready to become a pilot quiz? It's about 20 quiz or something like that, a 20 question quiz, and then after that you're able to, they fill out the form, they talk about it, talk about what their goals are, and then they give you their contact information. One of the best things about the quizzes too is that it's also filtering people out. So if you have a very long quiz or form and it asks about their motivations, when you get that data packet in your email with, hey, this is the person that was on your website, filled out this form, right away you can tell, like, hey, this person is going to be qualified to come to my school or not, right? So I want to give you an example of this right here. This is one of our schools right here. It's called Sun City Aviation. They're in Miami. And this is not the very top of the page. It's actually towards the bottom of the page. But just this alone, there's actually about 4. One's hidden. There's 4 call to actions and buttons and mechanisms we have to generate a lead. So on the very, very top, before I scroll down, there's actually a phone number on top. So right now you can't see it on the screenshot, but if you scroll up, you can see the phone number. So first kind of CTA right there is their phone number. And then the second one, you have on the top right nav bar, you have a start today. That's a second CTA. It's another opportunity for your user to leave their contact information. On the bottom there, you have another button that says get the guide. So every section kind of on the website should have a button or some type of call to action. That way you can generate the lead. And then even on the bottom right, it's always a kind of a sticky module on the top or the bottom right there is a chat widget. So just this alone, there's already, just by this small screenshot, there's already 4 opportunities for this user to interact with you, right? And I bring this up because this is just a good example of how to generate leads in your website. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. Any questions, by the way? So I've been talking for about, what, 15, 20 minutes? Mouth is running dry. How are we on time?
We get plenty of time.
Right.
Anybody who has any questions so far? A lot of great information. We can pass the mic around.
Well, I'll say that we met Tim at the first Envision conference, and we embarked upon the journey together, and he was very professional, really laid things out. I tried to have in-house marketing at a very low cost, and here we are. So we used it for a little while, we changed personnel, I decided to go another direction, and now I'm scrambling to get back on with him. So I think just a testimonial to say, yeah, I did work with him. He was very consistent, made us think about what our goals were and our actions, and kept us on target month after month. So.
Thank you, Nina.
Anyone else? Any questions or comments?
Hi, quick question about the lead magnets for you. So, obviously discovery flights are a primary one when it comes to flight schools. However, using a more digital method, one of my questions was, which of these have you found to be the most effective, especially when it comes from an independent flight school's perspective?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. So these are all different mechanisms we've seen and we've implemented for our flight schools. The most common one is actually contact us form. So it's the easiest one out there that everyone already does. But by providing more different mechanisms out there, we do get more opportunities than what we would just get alone from the contact us. But I would say the contact us form is probably the most popular one, just because it's a very low friction one. After that, I mean, this PDF download one is a little lower, but we do see that these people eventually do convert. I will say this too. So when you're getting a lead, not everyone's going to be a student, right? So let's talk about some numbers here, right? So let's say you have 1,000 users or visitors on your website. Just out of my rough back of the napkin numbers that what we see in our history. So if you have 1,000 users on the website, we're going to get roughly 100 leads a month. Out of that 100 leads a month, And that's with any of these lead magnets here, whether it's a contact us form, chat widget, quiz. Typically, and I call this the rule of tens, so I like fun numbers at 5, 10. Out of about 100 leads, 10 will actually come in the door, do a discovery flight or do a tour. And out of that 10, probably 2 to 5 are going to be a student, depending on how well your sales process is. So when you think about the numbers, let's say you're investing, say, a couple grand on marketing a month. It's about scaling. It's about scaling because your return on investment gets bigger as you invest more in marketing. Now, is it worth investing more in marketing? Let's say you have a wait list and you're full, then I wouldn't try to scale it up. But there is something to say that the more money you spend on marketing, eventually it will pay off. So to answer your question, the contact form is the most popular one, but these are all different mechanisms to capture the lead, and I'm going to get into this later about abandon and nurturing. Because what's going to happen is you capture all these leads up, they don't really convert, but now they're in your system, and you can continually market to them, year after year, and eventually, if you're top of mind, you'll be the first choice when they finally pull the trigger to do flight training. So, thank you for the question. One more? Cool. Yeah, keep it interactive. Let's make it more fun for all of us.
I have to say, I remember, Tim, when you just started with us at Visana.
Yeah.
And you have come a long way. And we're really proud to see you continuing to mature and moving forward. You're one of the best, in my opinion. I have to be careful when I say these things, but you've really come a long way. Could you share with us real quickly, what's a realistic operating budget on the marketing side for flight school?
Yeah.
We get that call, and I refer it to our vendors all the time, but I think it might be interesting for people to hear that.
Yeah. From a cost perspective, we're seeing around, now here's the thing. This depends on your size of flight school. So we have different programs for each different size of flight school. So if you're just running, 1 to 3 planes, obviously that's going to give you an operating annual revenue budget of, say, about $500,000 or less. With $500,000 or less, there's really not much you can do, unfortunately, with marketing. It's a little bit harder to market. Now, industry experts say 5 to 15% of your entire target revenue should be spent on marketing. In this industry, that's just too much. They say you're running $1 million flight school, that's asking easily more than $150,000 in just digital marketing alone. So it's not really approachable, especially for the smaller schools. So what we do is on average, I think our average ticket's around $50K a year, $50 to $70K a year on marketing. This doesn't include my fees. This actually includes Google ad budget, Meta ad budget, and things like that. But usually around $50,000 to $70,000 a year with marketing is usually going to get you at least $2 million and above. For the school spending, for the $1 million to $3 million range, we usually have school spend around $80,000 to $120,000 with us, and also Google ads and all that type of stuff. So it really scales as your business grows. So if you want to invest more into marketing in the beginning, which we have had some schools, they get a quick injection of marketing and they actually scale it pretty quickly. But it's really it's your personal tolerance, I think, is the best thing to say here, because everyone has their own tolerance for their budget. You don't want to overspend in marketing and then you don't have enough operations to service it. That's another issue too we've had. We've actually over-marketed some of the schools, and I say, hey, we got to tone down the ad budget a little bit because they get all these leads, then they have a wait list, and then they have bad customer service issues, they need to get more planes in. So I will actually meet with them once a month and be like, hey, let's tone down the marketing a little bit, let's put this on, let's reduce the ad budget just because you have a wait list. Let's take it down. So $50K on average, $50,000 to $70,000 a year on average on marketing is the answer here. Without any further ado, we have one more question. We have one last question here, then we're going to move on to the next section. We have a little bit more to go through.
I just want to say I really like the Get Your Free Pilot Training Guide, because we get hundreds of calls from a parent or someone looking for advice. They have no idea what the process is. And if they can download something, you've got your name in front of them, because people are doing searches all the time and they're looking for advice and so forth. They might forget who they spoke with, but if they have something they can download and it's got your logo, your information on it, they'll go back to that reference material and your name and your contact information will be right there for them. So,
excellent. Thanks
really
so
good idea.
Yeah, content marketing. I guess Felipe has been asking his hand up there, so let's give the mic to Felipe really quick. He's over here from Aviator Zone.
Getting my steps in today.
Hi Tim.
What's going on, man?
I know you won't take me as a customer. Sun City is a competitor in one of my fields, but I had the opportunity to talk to Tim for a lot. We've gone on calls and everything. He does a great job. If you haven't read his book, I really recommend you read it. Actually, it's still on top of my desk, and I look at it almost every day. So also, we're in a conference, and we can't be in a conference without talking about AI.
Yeah, that's coming up next, actually.
Good. So my question is, how do we get AI to answer who's the best flight school around me, and how do we crack that nut? Because I still haven't figured it out. So have you had any leads or understanding on how that works?
Absolutely. Let's get into the next slide, because that's where we're going to go next. Great segue, by the way.
And actually, to chime in on competition, in my opinion, is a good thing because it gives the end user the absolute best result.
Thanks for asking that question. This is the next topic we're going to go over, because remember we have the flight school marketing system, right? There's 5 different components of the marketing system. We went over your website. The next one is called SEO, search engine optimization. We've been talking about it for about decades now. The one that's coming up with, as far as new trends is AI. So AI is, ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, Gemini, whatever. We call it, I think marketers in general haven't agreed on a term yet. So I've heard AEO, I've heard GEO. GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. And this is an example of what we did in Kansas City. So here, let's start with SEO first. So over on the left side here, it's kind of hard to see, but I Googled flight schools Kansas City, and Summit Flight Academy, our flight school is #1 here. Same thing with organic search. They're #1 on organic search. Now, if you actually scroll to sponsored ads, so we'll get into paid ads pretty soon. But bringing it over here to ChatGPT, I pretended I was a 18-year-old in high school. I want to get into pilot training. That's why I typed into ChatGPT. I said, I live in Kansas City. What are my options? It spit out this 5-page essay about get your private, get the 1,500 hours. And what really surprised me on this inquiry, because we've done this inquiry multiple times to test it out. Normally, it actually gives kind of a similar directory listing like this. This time around, it only gave me 1 result. And that was really strange to me, because I thought they'd try to give many options to the end user, but they only selected 1 school, and it was actually ours. So I was like, oh, that's amazing. And now, here's a technique though. So let's get into techniques. There's really 2 things to consider here. So it's your on-page SEO and your off-page SEO. What we've noticed is if you are able to rank your school on Google, or search, whatever it is, mostly Google though, actually the GEO comes into play too. So what happens is ChatGPT, OpenAI and all that stuff, and Grok, whatever, and XAI from Elon Musk, what they do is they don't really invent the wheel here. They use what's available. So they actually scrape, they have a lot of, trackers and robots tracking the search results on Google, and then it kind of reformats it into an AI chat. So if you're able to rank high on SEO, then more likely than not, you're also able to rank and show up on AI search. Now, what I have seen, there is it's very parallel right now, like the AI and SEO path. Now, AI is slowly getting more and more traffic. So eventually, what AI says is going to be more important. So right now, for the past decade, we've always been optimizing for Google, and that's what we continue to do. But there's going to come a time, probably the next year to 3 years, where AI is going to start diverging away from Google and SEO. And I've been in a lot of different masterminds and circles about marketing, and there's a lot of other agencies that do something similar that I do in different industries, let's say like roofing and like fencing and HVAC. And they also do similar marketing that we do. And what we've seen is that there's actually a preference for certain types of content that we generate. So AI really loves it when you talk about this user experience. So they love testimonials, they love reviews, they love pricing, actually. That's a new one. So they want to give as much content. I want to go back to this thing here. Like I said, this was a 5-page essay. This is only a screenshot over here. But they want to give as much content to the end user. So the more stuff you have about the user experience, the more stuff you have about what they will expect at your flight school, the more likely you would show up in AI. So it's there's another one that's a little controversial. I've also seen in other industries. We've tried a little bit here at Rudder Marketing. It does work. It's actually calling out your competitors. This is kind of an insider secret. I probably shouldn't do this one. But what I've seen, if you have blog articles that say, hey, Rudder Marketing versus ABC marketing here, or if you have, let's say, a flight school, ABC flight school versus XYZ flight school, if you generate an article about that, AI will eat that up. And they'll quote it too. And we also did for Rudder marketing, like top 10 marketing agencies in the USA. They will pull that as a source data and then use that for the responses. So different techniques there, kind of some golden nuggets. But yeah, getting back to SEO and GEO. So it comes with two things. There's on-page and off-page SEO that we want to talk about. So on-page is talking about what we can do on our website. Off-page is talking about what we do outside of our website. So really quick, on the very bottom left, it's called the Keywords Guide. It's on our website. Go to ruddermarketing.com. And it has basically just a small 2-page document with a bunch of generic keywords. And what a keyword is what someone types into ChatGPT or Google, and that is their intention of search. Now, that keyword, whether it's flight training near me or instrument rating, you want to be able to sprinkle that around your website. So I have different examples of keywords here. You have short keywords, mid keywords, and long keywords. So this is a really interesting chart. The more vague and ambiguous your keyword is, the higher volume of searches are. However, your likelihood of actually ranking is super low, right? On the other hand, the longer and more detailed your keyword is, the more likely you are to rank. And also, it's also where all the traffic is. So this example here, the most ambiguous thing we can put on Google searches or ChatGPT is pilot training. Then, you might be a little more targeted. You might say pilot training in St. Louis. Then a very specific keyword is, hey, AATD simulator instrument rating flight school in St. Louis. So if someone's looking for AATD simulator and you have content about that simulator in your website, more likely than not, you're going to show up as number one. So go for the longer tail keywords, look for as much detail as possible, and just keep generating the content. Off-page SEO, I'll talk about this for a little bit. That's really what's called a backlink. So backlink is any place that's outside your website that links back to you and your business. So the biggest one out there is Google My Business. Google My Business is a directory listing. And talking about directory listings, there's a lot out there. There's like Yelp, there's Bing Maps, Apple Maps. So we want to get our businesses listed in as many directories as possible. We also have aviation directories too, like bestaviation.net, ForFlight, things like that. Global Air is also another one that has flight school listings as well. You want to make sure your business is listed on as many directories as possible. The bottom one, let's talk about headers, text, title, meta. This is where you put those keywords in. So we've been talking about keywords for a bit. These are different parts of your website. If you have WordPress or if you do it on your own, these are the places you put them. And you put them in your, even the file name of the picture that you have. So let's say you have a picture of a solo student. You can put flight training solo pilot in Sarasota as the name of the picture. And that will kind of give a little bit of indication to Google and all that stuff that, hey, this is a relevant website to list. All right, that's SEO and GEO. That's where a lot of our bang for buck is. I will say that that's the half of our marketing spend for most of our flight schools goes towards SEO and GEO. The next one over here is paid ads. By the way, how are we on time? I feel like I'm talking forever. Okay. You guys liking this?
We love it.
All right, let's keep going. We're about halfway through. We're at 3/4. Paid ads. This is on the right is your market share of where people are searching from. So 87.5% search on Google. So we invest the most of our paid ads in Google. There's other networks out there like Meta is our second popular one. That is also like Facebook and Instagram ads. I'll get into that a little bit later. When you run paid ads, the main thing you want to look at is your CTR, which talks about click-through rate and conversions. So the way paid ads works, I'll give you a brief summary, is you pay the platform, whether that's LinkedIn or that's Google, and then they have some text there, and then whenever they click it, that's what costs you, let's say 50 cents or $1. In this case, I showed it's $5 per click. So in this case, we have about a 10% click-through rate, so it was shown 2,000 times to random people. Out of those 2,000 times, 200 people clicked on it, so 200 divided by 2,000 is 10%. And then it costs us about $1,000 to do that. Out of those 200 clicks, you probably got maybe 10 leads. I don't know, it's not that much. But it still is a good, effective ad. Other things about ads to consider is your keywords and your targeting. So looking at what's your demographic again, the keywords you're trying to search for. Negative keywords is the opposite of keywords. It means like things you don't want to show up for. So for example, you don't want to show up for flight attendant school or A&P school if you're just a flight school. Those are things that you don't want to do or don't want to show up for, because if you show up to too many people, that spends your budget really quick. So that's that. getting into the other platforms besides Google, even though that's my main kind of squeeze here, there is Meta. So we do invest a decent amount in Meta and Facebook ads and Google ads, or Meta and Instagram ads. And what I've seen the best is it's actually about creating content and about video content especially. And with video content, it's all about stopping the scroll. It's all about engaging the user and being interesting. So if it's just another picture of someone soloing or whatever, people, if they've seen it before, they're not going to care that much. So really, it's being creative. And that's the harder part about it. Is being creative to find a way to get leads through Facebook. So, all right. Reputation management. We're on the 4 out of 5. We're on 4 out of 5, guys. We're almost done. So reputation management talks about your authority in the industry, your authority in your local area. So it's about generating reviews. So about every quarter, our flight schools do what's called a 5-star review campaign. And that's where we send email blasts to our users and say, hey, please leave us an email. We also have systems where we've done for our flight schools where, for example, whenever they solo, they'll have a piece of cardboard that says, I soloed. And then on the back of that, and they take a picture, by the way, for social media, great marketing. On the back of that cardboard piece for that photo, the solo photo, we have a QR code. And on the QR code, the CFI will then say, hey, you just soloed, can you leave us a review? Scan it, leave a review, right? Same thing with a check ride. After a check ride, same QR code's there. Say, hey, you just got a check ride, you just got your private pilot, leave us a review. Those are all mechanisms we've used to get more reviews for our flight schools. Video testimonials are really popular. One thing that people skip over a lot is actually what other people are saying about us. And it's all about reputation management. So you want to check social media, you want to check Facebook groups, Reddit, Instagram. I'm going to give you some examples of this. And I hid the names because I want to be very, I'm trying to be respectful to all the schools out there. But this is some schools that, aren't doing too good. And we don't want to be like this. So if we have people saying, hey, worst experience ever, blah, 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 blah. Not only is this a horrible school, it's a bad deal, doesn't offer anything unique, you can get anything somewhere else. We don't want to be like that. This one's one that's local here in St. Louis. This is, by the way, if you're in this room, I don't think it's going to ever happen to you because that means if you're in this room, you prioritize safety and you prioritize customer service, right? This school did not, and they're talking about flying unsafe and cutting corners. So you really want to run a tight ship. I think anyone that's in this room here is already doing that. But this is just a reminder. It's not just about marketing. It's about how you run your business as a whole. Because if you don't run your business correctly, if you're not safe, this happens, and you get these reviews. So always be on a monthly or quarterly basis. Be checking online on different forums, your reviews, Reddit. Because this one right here is on Reddit, I believe. This one was on Facebook. Always be checking, what people are saying about you. Do it a little once in a while. This right here is the power on the opposite side of the spectrum if you do a good job. So one of our schools in LA, this guy, I don't know, I hadn't seen this review, I just saw it yesterday. I'm like, oh, this is a great review. He's just telling the world how great the school is, and if you can have all your customers say something similar to this, that is a high impact factor. That's going to get you the lead. I can do all the ads I want, I can do all the SEO I want, but if I don't have people talking about me like this, I don't have my people talking about my school like this, it's going to be harder to get that conversion, right? So this one, what I love about this review is not only they're leaving great text and copy about my school, they're also putting images out there. So now my Google business profile has more images, it looks more dynamic, it looks like it's more real, more human, and their school is just taking off. It's just great. So really the reviews are so important. A lot of people will disregard reviews. I think the average review count for flight schools is around 10 to 20. Really we should be targeting 100 and above, 10x it. Now, open your mind, just 10x everything. 10x your marketing budget, 10x your reviews. So it's important. All right, the last part we're going to talk about today is the sales process. Okay, CRM. Who knows what that stands for? What you got? CRM, what's it stand for? Crew Resource Management? Customer Relationship Management, right? Customer Relationship Management. What it is, it's a software, it's a database where all your leads should go into. I'm going to give you some sales tips because I think that's something that we're not really trained on, something that I also had to train on myself. Use a CRM to document all your leads. So you should track it. If you're the owner, you might be the one doing the enrollment and the sales. Eventually, as if your school grows, you're going to have a team that does this, right? A front desk, or maybe an enrollment department. You need to have SOPs standard operating procedures about what these people will say to your prospects. So have the scripts written out, have a list of FAQs for your staff, that way they're able to respond correctly to prospective students. So this right here is a CRM, and I want to talk about this for a little bit. So every single box represents a lead that came into this flight school. The screenshot was about a year ago. But what happens is whenever someone gives them a phone call or gives them an email or something like that, they drop into the first column, new inbound lead. Now, what we do is we then ask the front desk or whoever's working on sales or enrollment department is to, hey, call this person up and check on them and see what they want to do. If they call the person and say, hey, I want to start flight training, awesome, that means it's a wand sale. We remove them from the list. Now, I would say 9 times out of 10 that doesn't happen, right? They're going to need a little bit more than just a phone call. So sometimes they say, oh, I'm too busy, let me call you back. We move that person to the right. And this is called the sales cycle or the sales funnel pipeline. And keep moving it next. So the first goal when you get a lead is really to have them come in the door and do an intro flight or discovery flight or a tour with you. Once they do the tour, sometimes they don't be a student right away too, right? So then we need a way to categorize it, so we move it to the next follow-up. Finally, after we following up so many times, it moves to the orientation scheduled or enrollment, right? So it's a cycle, but here's the thing, a lot of schools don't track this. What they do is they get the phone number in their email, they call them, and the guy says, oh yeah, I'll think about it later, oh, I gotta get my finances together, and then they forget about it. You don't want to forget about it, you want to take action, and the only way to remember to take action is if you document it somewhere. So a CRM helps you do that. And we've seen a lot of good results with our schools that use the CRM process, and they're able to identify where each lead is in the pipeline. Okay, some sales tips. So, I'm not an expert salesman. I'm kind of my history is actually manufacturing and then aviation. So I had no experience in sales until I did this stuff, and I had to get a lot of training. And this is what I learned. So, first one is what one of my mentors said. It says, "Sell the hole, not the drill." So what that means is when you have a student calling you or a prospective student calling you, you're not going to say, oh, I have the newest planes, we have G1000s, dual G5s, G430, newest fleet in the entire area, come see us now. That doesn't really address what they're looking for. What we have to do is we have to ask the right questions. Like, so if someone calls my school and I'm like, okay, what's your goals? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to be an airline pilot? Are you trying to be, are you just trying to fly for fun? Because when you ask the right questions, you can then give them the right product, the right service. Maybe they don't need the Zero to Hero program. Maybe they just need the sport pilot license, right? Ask the right questions and then figure out what their pain points are. In this case, the pain point is their need to change their career, their need to maybe fly a plane and be cool, whatever it is. But really, you want to make sure you ask the right questions. And then lastly, after you ask the right questions, make sure you document it. Going back to the CRM stuff, make sure you document it. I hate the F word here, but follow up. So part of my sales training was if someone has never heard of you and your business, do you know how many times it takes for that person to finally say yes or no? Who knows? Anyone? 7, 5. I heard 50 times. So this could be 50 touches with their social media, email campaigns, direct calling, direct email, texting. You need to talk to this person 50 times if they've never heard of you in their entire life before they'll do anything else whatsoever. So always follow up, always do something like that. Nurture and abandon lost leads. Don't forget about the people that said no. Send them a newsletter every month or something like that. That way you're always there. All right. That concludes my talk, by the way. So, that's a lot. But these are the 5 topics here, and went through a lot of topics. So, do we have time to go on the internet and do maybe
Absolutely.
An audit? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, this is great. If you want to, do you want to pick a volunteer? Do we have anybody that's there? First of all, I wanted to jump back to CRM since we do have a little bit of time. How many of you in here are using a CRM system already? Okay, fantastic. I've got a little bit of a quirk that I have. My flight school that I went to for my initial pilot training back in the early 90s has a CRM system. And do you want to know every year on my birthday who wishes me happy birthday first? That CRM system, still to this day. So I get up and that's the very first happy birthday that I get, and it's a warm feeling. So it's kind of neat. Anyway, yeah, I'll let you take it away, but we got time to set that up. Cool.
what we're gonna do is a quick exercise. So I want to make, like I said, I love interactivity. I love just working with you guys. If you have questions, keep asking them. What we're gonna do is we're gonna ask for a volunteer. So we're gonna ask for a volunteer, and that person can come on stage with me, and we're gonna look online and see what my team sees and how we can give you some advice, consulting for free, and check it out. So, do we have any volunteers? Levi is go. There you go. He was like, yes. Let's see what we got here. I think I did this with you live already on a call, didn't I?
A long time ago, so we took some of your advice to see what we're doing now.
All right, Felipe, tell me about your business.
So we are 141 School located in Miami, and we just opened our satellite about a year ago out of North Perry. Yeah, we're having fun.
All right.
Oh, sure.
All right. Commandeering Brian's computer, so apologize if I mess up. It's called Aviator Zone.
Aviator.zone.
Just look up on Google first. Aviator Zone. If we have internet. Okay. Maybe Aviator Zone Academy. There it is. Wow. That's legit. 170 reviews. Round of applause for that. Wow. That's amazing. Let's take a look at what you got here. So when's the last time you updated your photo?
That we don't do. We let them take the photos and post them on there. But yeah, we're slacking on that. I was just thinking about that too. That we haven't posted our own photos on our business profile.
Sometimes what will happen is that whenever someone leaves a review, kind of what I said earlier, it adds actually content to your Google Business Profile. But you as the owner can also add content right away. And we try to do it like once a quarter at least. So it looks like 3 years ago was maybe the last time you added some photos. 6 years ago, yeah. So that is probably a quick bang for buck here. I'm trying to give you some good free advice here. I would add a photo, photo or video. Video works too, by the way. So video is also pretty cool.
This is a problem that we had too, like on that paid ad. I don't know if you can. So this flight school is actually on our airfield, and just a quick search last week, they had an ad, and the title of this ad was the name of another flight school. So instead of like Flying Academy, imagine this said Flying Academy and then Aviator Zone Academy, and then it had their information on top.
I've seen that before. Do you have I think it's called, do you trademark your logo? And your
Yes.
Then you can actually, if you have, it's trademark or not patent?
Trademark,
I think it's trademark, yeah. If you've trademarked your logo and you've done the whole shebang and all legal stuff, you can put it in a appeal with Google, and then you can, not sue them, but you can actually, you have way more leverage.
It's funny, they haven't done it to us, but if you're to search like a competitor on our school, and we are a registered trademark on our logo, so I'm wondering, and our brand, so I wonder that's maybe the reason why they haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, so we had a school that did had this exact same problem. One of the competitors took our name and started running ads on it. And what we did is they were not trademarked, unfortunately. But I did generate some legal looking paperwork using just Google Sheets and Google Documents. And I submitted to Google, put a ticket in, and they actually did remove their ad. The easiest way to do this is not actually through brute force by going through Google and then actually doing an appeal process. It's actually just calling the person up saying, hey, I know you're in the same airfield as me, and we're all in the aviation industry. I saw an ad that has our name on it. Can you please take it down? That is probably the best answer, unfortunately. But you can brute force it if you've trademarked your logo. So let's keep auditing you. Got hours in here. Okay, this is called the description. So I kind of mentioned earlier about keywords, right? So you have your private instrument commercial. You have TMAMI, executive. This is actually really good. It's not bad. So there's only so many words, but I like how you have the different keywords in here. You're doing a great job as far as this. I think just from knowing you though, I think this Miami location is doing great, right? It's the you're expanding though. Yeah, so when you're expanding, that's the harder part. And what I know is I see this with all our schools too. Is you're always going to have one base location that gets a lot of traffic, and the secondary one is always lower.
Even fighting with Google, like creating another listing because they think that you're like just pushing. Exactly. Putting locations all over, and they were like, "No, you have a similar business to this," and then they rejected our location. And then we had a local competitor in that field that was reporting our business as not really there, and it would take it down. So now you're not showing up on Google anymore. Every time somebody's looking for your flight school, you're gonna show up. So that was a huge battle.
Yeah, unfortunately, hopefully you gotta have good relationships with your competitors too. Another thing too is about SEO. So we talk about off-page SEO and getting your name out there in direct listings. Other ways you do this is through associations and events. So are you associated with the Chamber of Commerce? Are you associated with like the local airport authority? Or is your website listed on there? Do you have the relationships built out your network? Because things like that, if they're at all trying to squeeze you and stomp on you and you're not in bad terms with them, it's not really helpful. So I like to look at it, and I hope everyone in this room has an abundance mentality. I think when we think about our competitors are not the other places. It's actually the doctor industry or voting. So those things to consider. You got a store in here. That's pretty good. You got a store times. Okay. So I think one of the biggest ones. Let's look at Meow. So this is a hard keyword. I can't really rank for this either because it's so broad. We're talking about like long tail versus short tail. Miami Flight School is the. This is the search results here. You have what's called the sponsor results. This is through pay-per-click advertising. So it's really about a bidding process. So the more money you spend, the more likely you are to show. ATP has a big spend on it. Looks like Fly Academy. This is a new one because I'm in your area as well. And like this is a new one that's been popping up recently. They're spending a lot of money on ads. So our schools on average is probably spend about $1,000 on ads a month, $1,000 to $3,000. These guys are probably spending $3,000 to $5,000 to be honest with you. If I was to take a cut, because I know the Miami market is pretty competitive. So this is a harder keyword to search for, but this is the one that we compete against. So me and you are in a business together to compete. But you do show up like number 4. It's not bad actually. You're on the first page. Sun City, not so much though. So you're doing better than Sun City. So on the SEO aspect of it was doing pretty well. Let's look at your actual website. Okay, we'll let those audits run in the background here. So this is your website. This is what people first see when they come to your website. So the question is, if I was a brand new student without any aviation knowledge and I came across your website, what would be my impression right here and now? It's more kind of like, okay, it's a newsletter. It doesn't really speak right away to the audience right then and there. So I would probably remove this and then I would put this pop-up on a scroll. So what happens is that you get your main message right now, like right here, learn to fly is your main message, right? I would have that, and then as I scroll, then boom, that's when the pop-up should be. If I was to kind of optimize this, as far as user experience goes. By the way, shout out to Stratus right here, by the way. A little part of it too is it's a little hard to read. So I would change the text to black, or you can use a shadow for that. I do like the call to action right here. Let's book your first flight. I think you have your phone number. You could also put another call to action here. One of the things I like to notice with websites is that the user thinks in a Z pattern. So the first eyes go here, and then they go to the right. So usually there's a button here, and then they go this way. So there's one right there. So even you unintentionally did the right formatting. Go here, here, then down here, and then to your right again. And then there's another button there. So learn to fly is a good one. It's kind of generic though, so I think the question I would ask for you is like, what's your target audience? Are you looking for 0 to hero pilots, or looking for more recreational pilots? If it's more than 0 to hero pilots, then I do like I guess kind of subconsciously you have the kind of professional look with the epaulets, But really, learn to fly is pretty generic. I would probably say something like, hey, become an airline pilot, or what's kind of sell the drill, sell the hole, not the drill, right? So it's like, what are they looking for? That would be the kind of immediate thing there. I do like you have a chat widget right there as well. So you have some brand authority here. Not bad. This right here, I would probably put this higher up because this is going to immediately speak to your audience. So some quick tips on your website. Let's do one more thing here, if I can. So we'll do like this. This is what it looks like on a mobile phone. I know it's kind of hard to see here, but a little better. So on the mobile phone, it actually sees a little better too. So about 60% of users are on mobile, but still it's a little hard to read this as well. So it does look like it's properly formatted though. So you're able to see everything. There's nothing that's getting cut off. It actually, from a design perspective, is not bad at all.
I think we should test our chat, see if they
I don't have ChatGPT or anything like
No,
that.
challenge our team there and see if they.
Oh, their answer?
Yeah, their answer.
Sure, we can do that. It's fun.
That's a real test.
Putting you on the spot here. Powered by AI, so you can have the AI guy. Okay. Did I answer your question?
It should have taken you. It's our local time.
Local time is like, I want to say 11. 11?
9:40.
Oh, 9:40. Oh, it's the other way around? Okay.
10:40. Yeah, no, we're in Eastern time right now. So it's
Oh, I think we're.
yeah. So
Oh, it's 9:40 right now.
9:40.
Yeah, it's 9:40.
That should actually take up to. That's a good test because that should go to a live agent now.
Well, I mean, one thing is good with AI, it does give you a response right away, but people...
Try putting agent, see what it does.
Which one, that one?
Just put there like agent.
Oh, they're gonna know too now. It looks like it's stuck on the AI one, so yeah, well, that's not bad. So one of the things we do is, like, you know, I've tested and played out with different chat widgets. To be honest with you, for me, it's just a form. I get their email. I ask, rather than just having ask me anything, I actually, my form is like name, email, phone number. That's really it. So it looks like a chat widget, but then it's just a form for their email. And then it sends a message to our CRM, then I text them like 30 minutes later. So that's what I do. Let's look at your other stuff, your other statistics in here. So let's go on the first one. It's loaded. It should load. Oh, there it is. So you have, actually you've done a great job with SEO as far as the technical side of it. It looks like Google is saying that it's optimized very well. However, your performance is pretty low, so it's about 50. I try to get around 70 or higher. Most of our schools are around 70 to 80. If it's a very plain website with no features, no chat widgets, it's usually like around 100. But the more pictures you put on a website, the lower your speed goes down. This is important about speed because the higher speed is on your website, the more likely you are to rank high in Google. The more likely you are to rank on Google, the more likely you are to show up on the chatbots. So these are some. This is going to tell you all the different things that's wrong or causing it to slow down. So for example, you have JavaScript in there. It's depending on the network too long. You have the fonts are a little messed. Maybe you can optimize the fonts a little better. This right here is called pagespeed.web.dev. It's a free tool by Google Lighthouse that allows you to audit your page speed and also different accessibility stuff. So like, for example, this is kind of what I brought to you. The background and foreground don't have good contrast, things like that.
Crazy that it even sees that.
It sees that, yeah, it sees all that type of stuff. I think here, let's see if it pulls it up. This is actually the buttons, so the buttons, it's calling it the buttons in this case. So I would usually use a darker orange or maybe a lighter white, maybe. This one is, I didn't get into this yet, but this is called your headers. So if you look at your website, you have H1, H2, H3, H4. Ideally, it's in sequential order. So right now, it's saying that H5 or H3 kind of came out of nowhere. It went from, I think, H5 to H3. Ideally, it goes from H5 to H4, which is like a different size of header, yeah. So that would reach your score. You know, the higher your scores for accessibility, the more likely you are to show them. These are just different, I guess, points to touch on. I guess it keeps rolling down just for the benefit of you guys. Cookies, you have some JavaScript issues, but other than that, that's really about it for page speed. This right here, see if it gives us any data. So this is your SEO data from a third-party source. Looking from a 1-year perspective, looks like you did grow in traffic as far as just overall. However, on keywords, you kind of stayed the same, about 1,000, 2,600. That's actually really good numbers. A lot of our schools that are smaller than you, they're around 500, to be honest with you. So you're doing a great job. I mean, unfortunately, Miami is just so competitive, and I know that on a first-hand basis. If you brought your school to say to Iowa, you'd be number 1 right away.
We're moving to Iowa.
Come to Iowa. This right here is the keywords you rank for. So it looks like you had a small drop off in December 2024, and it's slowly building up over time.
So the reason for that, we actually had like FARs and stuff like that on our website, so we took all of that stuff out, and that's probably what we lost at. What do you think, like, because I was having this discussion with my team this week. You know, when I look at an article or pirate, like we call them pirates, but like a blog posting, I know a lot of people are like, okay, let's just create, you know, a blog and ask AI give me a guideline on this, and people are publishing this stuff online, and I feel like, at least now, like I'm pretty trained to like identify what's AI and what's not AI. What do you think the value on AI stuff is versus actually something that somebody wrote? Like to me, I don't want anything that has to do with AI being published on my website.
Yeah.
Like I want a human to go in there. I understand using it and kind of getting a baseline model, but when you have the same stuff over and over again, that's like a little green checkbox and everything. Like I feel like it's so like identifiable. The value of that versus the value of some human actually typing this up and kind of putting your insight.
Well, I mean, you said you removed it around this time, so this is the impact of that. So I think that answers your question, unfortunately. I don't like AI stuff either. Okay. I don't like using AI stuff either, but unfortunately, it does help with rankings, so I do use it. I will say, if you want to do it the right way, hire a writer and then post out like every single month or so. So one of the techniques we use for our flight schools, we do add blog posts, and our first blog posts were all handwritten by me at first, and then I hired a copywriter do it for me, and then eventually we did move to AI. We kind of trained AI to be a little better with the blog posting, but there are,
Have you seen a difference in return of the AI, the writer, and yourself? Like, which one has the highest return?
I think it depends on the topic. So if you're able to instruct the AI on the right topic, it doesn't really matter who writes it. So really look. So for example, let's say one school we had is it's by the mountains, and then we have a keyword high altitude training. So we did a lot of blog posting on high altitude training, and it was AI generated. But guess what? It showed up on Google. That got us the lead. So I know that it's kind of icky to think about, or cringe to think about AI bots and all that stuff, but it has a high impact factor. So we still use it. I know a lot of us are getting trained on how to identify when it's AI or not. But I recommend just putting it out there. Then, think about this. So your AI blog articles are kind of your baseline, but you as an author, or your staff as an author, can always add more to it and feature those ones on top. And then usually, if it's higher quality content, more people will click on it, and more people will actually read it, and then it'll be more engaging. It'll actually show up higher on organic search as well. But you want a baseline with AI at least.
That's what I said kind of to my team. It's like, look, use it. Let it give you a guideline, but make sure you go in there and put the human touch, because I think we can really see now the difference of AI versus not AI. And I did that exercise with examining authority, and I said, okay, create me all the benefits, and there was so much more we added to that from than what AI gave us, because I think there's not a lot of stuff feeding that information.
Yeah.
So it kind of doesn't really know what the benefits are. You kind of have to teach it. So.
Yeah, you definitely have to start with AI a little bit to get the articles out, because it does take time. The last thing we're going to show here is the keywords you rank for. So let's see if I can click this and it shows up. This is what you currently search for. So actually, you have an article probably about salary of an airline pilot, maybe. That is your number one, ranking article here. You got about 405 different traffic in here. You got a lot of volume actually.
So you want me to tell you where I got the idea from that?
Why not? Yeah, go for it.
Let's go to ATP's website.
Oh.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah. So model success, right? So you kind of do that, I guess, with anything, right? So if you look at the pros, you look at your instructor, there's a reason why they're doing better than you are. So I looked at it, and there was like, wow, all the students are asking about salaries, and we created that article, and that article actually has done really good.
Okay, golden nugget. If there's one thing you can take away from this talk or this show, go home and update your website and add something about airline pilot salaries. Think about that. But this is where you rank for in Google. You actually do a pretty good job. You have all these things that you rank for. Southwest, I think, is the same type of article that you guys are searching for here. But this is a great tool to see where your website and what you're currently marketing is actually showing right now. And actually, you are doing a really, from what I see, compared to a lot of our schools that we work with, even, you guys are doing a great job. So, I know I'm not doing in business with you, but I hope for the success. You guys are doing really great, and you're a good example of what to do correctly.
Guys, not a plug, I swear. I've read Tim's book. I've used a lot of the stuff. I highlighted, described it. So really, you did a good job with that book. And it's not AI written, I can tell you that. I really recommend it.
Thank you. So.
And it's free. Well, it was free at the conference. I don't know if you're...
We have about maybe 20, 30 copies here, so come check us out in the booth over there. We have, you can get it for free talk to Sam over there in the background. He's part of our Rudder marketing team here in the ship, and he'll get you a free copy today. So
totally worth it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for you. All right, Brian, we're going to wrap up here. Thank you guys.
Well, thank you so much.